Mr. Johnston, always great to catch up with you, sir. I'll let the words of Callum Elliott of Bernstein do the talking. Sales growth, quote, truly astonishing. Margins, quote, surprised significantly to the downside. Let's start with the former, then we'll do the latter. What's driving this really robust demand for you?
Well, it's interesting. Good morning and good to be with you all. Right now, the consumer is very much responding to the investments we've made in brands, the investments we've made in product development and innovation, and they're coming to our products. We're gaining market share in most of our markets in both snack foods and in beverages. And what you saw for the quarter was a 13% revenue increase in convenient foods and an 11% increase in our beverage business. So consumers very much in a world that's stressful and where people are looking for simple pleasures, our products provide those simple pleasures and give everyone a little smile every day. And that's a little bit of what we're trying to do. And they seem to be responding well to it.
Hugh, how's price tolerance evolving? Just as you put up costs again over the last, let's say, 12 months, what's consumer price tolerance look like? Any pushback whatsoever, anywhere?
Really not very much, to be candid. If you look at the quarter, we had our prices up at about 7% and our volume growth was 5%. For the year, our prices were up 5%, and our volume growth was 4%. So actually, volume accelerated a bit. Now, I'm not going to say that's a projection going forward, but to date, consumers have been relatively insensitive to the price increases that we've taken, and I think that's because our brands are so loved and so strong, and our products are worth paying a little bit more for.
Hugh, we've seen across earnings season surprises to the upside on sales, then disappointments on earnings. Just margins haven't held up in quite the same way. What's hurting your margins at the moment? How sticky do you think that cost pressure is through 22?
Well, in the quarter, I think it was a reflection, as much as anything, of some investments that we made back in the business in order to really maintain the momentum that we have. Our advertising and marketing was up 15% because we really feel like we need to continue to connect strongly with consumers. And we continue to invest in digitalization, which makes us a stronger company that's capable of growing faster. As we look into this year and the guidance that we have, our expectation is we'll see commodities inflating right up at around 10% or so. And with that low double-digit inflation, we're going to see pricing that's in the high single-digit range. We've got all that locked in for the first 9 months of the year. And by virtue of having done that, along with our productivity programs, we expect our margins to remain intact for the course of the year.
Hugh, you're a member of the advisory council to the New York Fed as well. The Federal Reserve have been telling us that this inflation story is going to fade. Can you give me some insight into what you tell them now? Hugh, you've been at PepsiCo, I think, since the late 80s, 1987. Have you ever seen it like this before? What have you told them?
No, it's the highest inflation that I've seen. As I went back and looked in our annals, I think it's probably been the early 80s since we've seen this level of inflation. I'll share generally my view. It's difficult to predict when inflation might ease. Lots of people are out talking Q2 or Q3. Candidly, we're not sure about it, which is why we tend to forward buy our commodities by about 9 months or so. Because while I can't predict it, by virtue of buying 9 months out, I don't have to predict it. I can actually run the rest of the business based on the facts that we have around commodity inflation, as opposed to trying to guess in advance. This is a policy that we put in place about 10 years ago as a management strategy, and it's served us incredibly well, and it's serving us really well right now.
Can you predict Sunday, Rams-Bengals? Can you predict that, Hugh?
I predict we're going to have an absolutely terrific Super Bowl and an even better halftime show.